Over the past decade, Turkey has been deepening its cooperation with countries along the Horn of Africa. Disillusioned by decades of failed Western engagement, Turkey has emerged as one of the alternatives. And one of the countries Ankara is looking to form a strategic partnership with is Somalia. Nili Kozad has this report.
It's the latest sign of Turkey's growing presence off the Horn of Africa. Somalia, just miles from where much of global trade and energy passes through, will be working with Turkey to see if these waters hold any energy reserves. Earlier this month, Turkey dispatched the Oruç Reis exploration ship to search for oil and gas. The deal is part of a larger partnership that covers everything from defense, infrastructure to humanitarian assistance.
The support of Turkey has touched the heart and the mind of the people. And this support was very visible and very tangible, saved many Somali lives throughout Somalia.
Such deep relations are quite strategic. Over the years, Ankara has established itself as a reliable partner in Africa, particularly honing in on its relationship with Somalia. Ankara says its policies are designed to leave Africa in a better state than it found it. Ties between the two nations strengthened after Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan made a landmark visit to Mogadishu in 2011 during a devastating famine. In 2017, Turkey opened its biggest overseas military base in Somalia to train and develop its security forces. This year, the two signed significant defense deals as talks of establishing a navy for the African nation were initiated. But perhaps Turkey's most critical role lies in its mediation efforts between Somalia and Ethiopia about their dispute over a port deal in Somaliland that raises fears about regional stability.
Our goal as Turkey is and continues to be reconciling existing concerns and bridge the gaps in a manner that will benefit not only Somalia and Ethiopia, but also the region as a whole.
This cooperation signals Turkey's keen interest in Africa as it strives for a developed neighborhood. And as Africa grows increasingly wary of involvement from Western countries like France, Turkey's approach of peace at home, peace in the world is beginning to find a welcoming audience across the continent. Nili Kozad, Strait Talk.
For more, joining me now on set is Abdihakim Ainte. He's the Director of Food Security and Climate Change at the Office of the Somali Prime Minister. Abdihakim, thank you for joining me on set. Now, I want to talk about Turkey-Somali relations. In 2011, a very important year, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan makes a landmark visit to Somalia that triggers not only this relationship and this increased diplomacy between Somalia and Turkey, but also is kind of a launching pad for Turkey's Africa diplomacy and Africa policy. So how important was that visit?
Well, that was a very milestone, a very landmark, as you rightly said. Erdogan came actually on the heels of when Somalia was really going through a very tumultuous time. We had a humanitarian catastrophe that was putting millions of Somali on the risk of a famine. Not only he came to Somalia, but also he braved into walking into streets of Mogadishu, visiting some IDP camps and hospitals and so on and so forth. That visit in 2011 has paved the way for what has become Turkey-Somalia relationship that has now integrated deeply into an economic, education, health, political, and so on and so forth, and security. And until today, Turkey and Somalia enjoy a very deep relation that I don't think so Turkey would have any other African country in the continent. And that has really become Turkey's strongest and the most strategic ally and partner in the Horn of Africa and broadly in the continent.
When you look at it, Turkey's biggest embassy is the one in Mogadishu. Its biggest foreign air base, foreign military base is also in Somalia as well. So these seem to be hallmarks of a very strong relationship. Would you not agree?
I completely agree with you. I mean, remember, again, when Erdogan was visiting in 2011, he immediately began, looking Somalia not only as a Muslim brother country, but also a country that could potentially become a hub for Turkey's strategic interest in Horn of Africa. And he made that ambition nearly become true. Now Turkey has the largest diplomatic mission in the continent in Africa and has probably the second biggest military base in the country. And as you rightly remember, now Turkey is also going beyond that and investing in Somalia's potential oil and gas exploration, which I'm sure we're going to talk about it. But single-handedly, the Turkey-Somalia relation has over the years morphed into more strategic, more close partner, where Turkey sees Somalia as a gateway for its foray into the continent.
So chronologically, you look at that 2011 visit, then the building of the biggest Turkish embassy overseas. You have the base built. Now, as you mentioned, a maritime agreement. So chronologically, that partnership strengthening year by year. How important is this maritime agreement?
It is also another landmark and very significant. And this relation has been really building over a decade or so. And at every stage of the way, there has been certain areas where Turkey was heavily focused on. And in earlier time, about a decade ago, it was more on focusing on humanitarian, education, health, infrastructure, and even trade partners. But now it has moved to more investing into Somalia's economic potentials, including the oil and gas exploration, which has recently been signed between Turkey and Somalia as a major economic partnership, probably the biggest that Somalia ever had with any foreign countries in terms of the extent and the scope of areas that Turkey could explore gas and oil. So that in of itself has become a hallmark for Turkey-Somalia relation.
In the past when I was talking with Somali officials, we're also talking about the security situation in the country. And I want to talk about this because right behind you, a beautiful picture with Somali naval officers. Obviously, Turkey providing a lot of training as well. How important is that security cooperation in fighting terrorism in Somalia and bringing that stability?
Turkey is very closely, since 2011, have started closely working with our security apparatus in the country and propping up the military and training well over a couple thousands of militaries and personnel. And they have been also training not only in Somalia, but also here in Turkey. And that has really allowed Somalia to strengthen its military capability, its reach, its scope. And now we are very much on the front line of fighting and combating with Al-Shabaab. And with the support of Turkey, that military assault to Al-Shabaab, Turkey is providing also a significant aerial support of air power support, of military support. I think this is also another critical area that Turkey is heavily invested in, is the security area.
Now, we've talked a lot about public investment, obviously, from government to government. How about private sector investments with Turkish businessmen? How important is that? What are they looking at investing in Somalia? And what would you want them to invest in? What sectors would you want to see more Turkish businesses active in?
I mean, Turkey is largely investing in quite a number of areas that are, very important to Somalia. I mean, namely the health and health area, as well as also agricultural sectors. There's quite a number of a significant amount of investment that are coming from Turkish companies, and Turkey now became the second largest trading partner that we have, in all over the world. And this continues to be also the trend over the last few years, that Turkey's private companies are increasingly exploring, different type of investment, from cafe industry to retail industry to health and beautification, so on and so forth. If you go to Somalia and walk into big capitals such as Mogadishu, Hargeisa, Garowe, you can find pretty much Turkish product across every street. So that really shows how much Turkey not only involved in political and security side, but also how both countries are tied in economic and trade partnership.
Now, the Horn of Africa is a geopolitically very, very important geography, and the Turks aren't the only ones interested. Obviously, Chinese very interested, Gulf countries very, very interested, the United States, Europe very interested. What's the perception of Turkey with the Somali people versus other competitors?
Well, remember, I mean, there's a famous saying that a friend in need is a friend of indeed. I think Turkey, what made Turkey distinctly different from the rest of the so-called traditional partners is because it came at a time when Somalia needed a hand. And that hand was extended by Turkey in 2011 when millions of Somali were at the risk of an acute famine that could have really claimed millions of Somalis. From that moment on, the perception of Turkey has overwhelmingly become quite a positive, even to the extent that even, I mean, big areas and even girls that have been born after 2011, they have been given even some Turkish names. I mean, our biggest hospital now is named after the President Erdogan. It's called Erdogan is the biggest hospital. So the positive that Turkey has in Somalia stems from primarily its approach and philosophy in investing in Somalia. That is more about people-to-people collaboration, that is delivering aid directly to where it's most critically needed, not going through an intermediary, which I think the traditional donors does. So that is what Turkey gives an edge over the rest of other competitors.
I want to get back to the gas and oil part of the relationship because I think that's very important for the future. The Oruç, a research and discovery ship that Turkey has now sent to the Horn of Africa to research the coastal waters off of Somalia. I think that's very, very important right now. What type of discovery is the Somali people expecting?
Well, we're expecting that Somalia has a huge and sits on a huge amount of gas and oil. And what Oris ship is going to do is to do the first step, which is the seismic survey to look into what are the potentials and the possibilities that Somalia could tap into a vast amount of resources. And the ship was shipped off, I think, 2 weeks ago from here in Istanbul, and now it's on its way to Somalia. So we are expecting when the ship arrives in Somalia to immediately begin the seismic activity and study. And that study would allow us to understand the depth and the size and the scope that we can explore and tap into resources. And there is a wide perception that Somalia has, an enormous amount of resources that remains very untapped. Should that happen, there will be definitely a new beginning for Turkey-Somali relationship.
One more question, another issue that's very important to the Turks as well, very important to the Somali people, the relationship between Somalia and Ethiopia, the tensions between the two countries, Turkey wanting to mediate. How is the mediation process going? Do you think Turkey can find middle ground between these two countries?
I think Turkey has been really trying to find out opportunities and avenues to mediate that Ethiopia and Somalia. And I think that is something that the leadership of Turkey are quite committed to. We're hoping that will continue for some time, but there has not been any substantial agreement on further. I mean, look, the thing about Ethiopia, Somalia, we are a neighbor. We're very much, they are our immediate neighbor in Ethiopia. And we have stayed and enjoyed for quite years of that neighborly relationship. It's just that earlier this year when the Prime Minister of Ethiopia has really, decided to launch what has become the most egregious, infringement on sovereignty of any country that could happen, and that is the choice that the Ethiopian leadership has made, not the choice that our leadership has made. Our leadership has been very consistent, and they have been our president has more than anyone made very clear on this topic that Somalia wants to have a peaceful coexistence with Ethiopia, and that peaceful coexistence can also be benefited both countries through a trade and bilateral relationship. He's been very open about it, and I think that is also remains until today. Should Ethiopia leadership chooses a peaceful out of this, definitely Somalia will continue to also choose a very peaceful out of this quagmire.
Abdihakim Ainte, thank you for joining me. Hopefully, we'll have this discussion again once Trace discovers some gas and oil, or we see a breakthrough in the mediation between Somalia and Ethiopia. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much.
And that's all for this edition of Straight Talk with me, Yusuf Aram. If you got any comments, please share them with us on X at Straight Talk TRT. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.